the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the meeting to order. First step is a presentation to council from Delta Ambulance. I think it's Bill McKenna.
No, Tim Beals, actually.
All right, so I have on my list.
That's okay.
Thank you.
So Tim, thank you.
Thank you, Kim.
Thanks, Tim.
I take it this is where you want me. I promise I won't read all of that to you tonight. And first of all, thank you for having us. My name is Tim Beals. I'm the Executive Director of Delta Ambulance. I do have Bill McKenna with us. Bill is our Community Relations Director. I was hoping our Ops Manager
Chris is online.
is online. Good. So this is not a place that I had hoped to ever have to be, is asking for a service fee to the communities that we serve. But I'll just hit some high points in here and talk about the need. Just a little bit about Delta. We were formed in 1972 by what was once 3 hospitals in the city of Waterville. The Osteopathic, which is now Inland, Thayer and Seton, which has become Maine General. So there was a need. They got together, they formed an ambulance company. From that, we've grown. We are a not-for-profit corporation. We have a board of directors made up of community representatives and representatives from both hospitals. The mission and vision is in here. You know, our goal is to be the most trusted mobile healthcare organization in the state of Maine. And compassionate leadership and excellence is really what we strive for. When you think of Delta, we're what I consider to be a full-service ambulance. So we provide 911 response to the communities at the paramedic level. We also provide interfacility transports. People think of those as transfers. Those are the patients you move from hospital to hospital, hospital to nursing home, both locally throughout the state and, quite frankly, throughout New England. And then the third thing that we provide is education. Over the course of the pandemic, with a shortage, which really was the beginning before the pandemic started, you know, there just isn't enough EMS personnel. I mean, the fire departments have seen this for years with a dwindling firefighter employment base. The same thing happened with EMS just a little bit later. So we have developed a training center. So Delta now has a training center where we can train to the basic level, so basic EMT, emergency medical responder. We're not at the paramedic level for training. But we have run several successful courses now. We've been able to recruit from those classes. So, you know, we're trying to do our part to grow the industry. And we also provide community education for those organizations that request it, and first responder education as well. There's a chart here of the towns that we serve for 911. There are 14 communities. And the populations numbers that we're using, we obtain from the Maine Municipal Directory, so they may vary a little bit. What we're finding is they're a little bit different than what some of the communities have. 2 locations, one in Waterville at 29 Chase Ave, across from the old Seton Hospital. That's our main base, where our administrative offices, our billing department, dispatch center, and the Waterville operations is located. We have a second base in Augusta on Coney Road. That base serves primarily the towns east of Augusta that we cover for 911, as well as it's the first truck to pick up any interfacility work out of the hospital. We have just over 100 full and per diem, full-time and per diem employees. We're down from the pre-pandemic levels. We were at one time around 135. That number has dwindled over time, some due to the pandemic, some due to just people moving on to other careers, but we're at about 100 right now. What sets us apart from other ambulance services in the state, and I use the state as the example, is the level of attention that we pay to our clinical quality. That's all we do. We are solely focused on the patient and the patient's outcome. We partner with first responder agencies throughout our service area so that they're providing, extrication and the specialty services like that, and our main focus is on the patient. And we do that with a very comprehensive clinical quality program. It really is only second to life flights when you think about the patient, the level of detail that we put into this. We have a dedicated medical director, Steve Diaz. He's the chief medical officer at Maine General, has been our medical director for over 20 years, very involved with us. And is, if you can believe it, he reviews every 12 lead EKG that our staff does. So there's a really high focus on making sure that we get the right care to the patient. The level of training that we provide our staff, that we offer our staff, really is, it's one of the things that draws people to Delta. They come to us because of our education programs and the things that we offer them to enhance their career, because really once you get into EMS, it's lifelong learning because it changes so fast. Our own dedicated communications center, it really makes sense for us to have that, to coordinate our fleet of trucks between transfers and the 911 calls. And all the trucks are on GPS. We have our own CAD system. So the dispatchers know where all the trucks are. They can assign the closest truck to a call. It's not only a safety feature for the crews that dispatch can see where they are, but it also makes us more efficient in assigning calls. One thing that's been very successful for us, and I think, is that we do our own billing. So we have our own revenue cycle management department, if you will, within the company. I say department, it's not that many people. But because they're all certified, they've gone to school, they're ambulance coders, we are very good at making sure that when we submit a claim to the insurance company, it's going to be paid. It starts with documentation in the field from our providers, but it also is the accuracy of the people doing the billing, so that when the claim goes out the door, it's clean, what we refer to, so names are spelled right, date of births are right, the insurance numbers are right. Because I will tell you, insurance companies, if they can find a way not to pay, they will find a way not to pay us. And so that's really important to us, and it's so with that commitment to quality, the medical director involvement, a clinical standards and practice team, it ensures that the patients that we serve get the highest level of care possible. And it keeps us innovative so that we use the QI, the quality, as a means to teach and to improve the offerings that we, so if we find something in the QI, a pattern, we can address it through education so that that loop is closed. And again, it results in highly skilled, highly trained EMS professionals that are responding and then the best care that they can provide. Something that we're very proud of is our cardiac arrest survival rate. There's a chart in here. We don't have numbers beyond 2020 at this point, but between 2015 and 2020, there were 41 people who had a cardiac arrest in our service area that survived, walked out of the hospital, no deficits whatsoever, which is truly remarkable in a rural system like ours that goes from Rome to Whitefield. That speaks to the level of people that we work with, the first responders, to our staff, and to the emergency rooms, that we were able to save that many people who are still having birthdays and holidays with their family. So in terms of Fairfield, this is the one page I updated, Michelle. So for 2022, we had 1,055 responses to the town of Fairfield. So that, remember that number, it'll come up again, because there's a difference between a response and then the transport, and you'll see that. It basically, about 75% of the calls in Fairfield result in a transport, and about 25% don't. So the patient either refused, we were canceled, whatever the case may be. The response time was about 9.56 minutes. So that, and our trucks for Fairfield come from Waterville. So we don't, you're not getting a truck responding out of Augusta. The call breakdown is pretty similar to 21s, and I just left 21s in here. But there's a chart that just shows, based on the day, how does that call volume pan out? And it's pretty equal over the course of the week in terms of call volume on a day. Hour-wise, probably the middle of the day, from 10 o'clock to 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. That seems to be the peak hours for 911s in Fairfield. We had a lot of questions from some of the towns about our funding sources and are we maximizing our opportunities. I can tell you the answer is yes. We contract with every insurance company that is in the state of Maine. Medicare and Maine Care, as you might guess, are the two largest payers for the ambulance service, for us and any other ambulance service, quite frankly, in the state of Maine. So we do participate with those. I have to give you a little bit of ambulance billing 101. The fact that we participate, that we have a contract, and Medicare simply demands it, there's no option, we can't balance bill. So and I'm just going to use round numbers, if you bill $1,000 for a transport or an emergency call, and Medicare says they're going to pay you $500, that's what you get. You can't bill that other $500. So it has to be written off. The third parties, the Aetnas, Blue Cross, Harvard Pilgrims of the world, follow suit. They do the same thing. So when we sign a contract with these insurance companies, we agree not to balance bill their beneficiary. So you take what they pay you. You have to chase the deductibles, and sometimes you collect them, sometimes you don't. So it really is, people don't understand that. They think that when they see our rates, that that's how much we're going to collect, and that's just not the case. The medical billing is much different. So the other thing is you're only allowed to bill a base rate and loaded miles. So the mileage to the scene is not reimbursed, and only the mileage once the patient's on board the ambulance to the hospital is what's reimbursed. So again, some people don't understand that. We can't bill for any of the things that we do on scene. So no EKG, no IVs, no medications, any procedures like that are all lumped into the base rate. This is what Medicare did about 20 years ago. Unfortunately, they haven't kept up with the times, nor have the third parties. And so everybody follows the same pattern, as you have a base rate and loaded mileage. If a patient doesn't have insurance, we do bill the patient. Most of the time, those end up not being paid. The patient doesn't have insurance. There's probably a reason for it. They're certainly not going to be able to pay an ambulance bill. One of the benefits to having our own billing department is we can work out payment plans, hardship cases, things like that we address. And in the end, we do use a collection agency. If it all, we try our darndest to bill and offer payment plans, but if in the end, sometimes they end up at a collection agency. So I said a base rate loaded mileage. And the reason I said remember the response number is we don't get paid if we don't transport. So we respond to somebody's house, we might assess them, we might put an EKG on or start an IV, or even in the case, the patient can refuse. And if they refuse and they don't want to go to the hospital, or they just refuse care right up front, we're not able to bill for that. So that's why I said, you know, when you think about the number of times, and for some reason, my number page has disappeared. I didn't keep my own graph. Where'd it go? Can I have that? I think it should, I was just looking at yours. There should be a table that show right after the graph, yeah, right here, this graph here. So you can see at the top line says total calls. So if we just look at 2022 to the far right, so we had 1,055 responses to the town of Fairfield. We only transported 825 times. So that difference of 200 and some odd calls, we weren't able to bill for. So it you know, we've been talking, Representative Searway, Scott Searway has been talking with me over the last few weeks. He's working hard to find money for that particular aspect of our business, and we've had many conversations about it. But I will tell you, since I have been executive director, which has been over 20 years, I've been in Augusta every year asking for them to raise our rates to help us with these kinds of situations, and we really haven't made a lot of headway. I've been to Washington, talked to our Washington delegation. Sorry, John, I didn't mean to do that to you.
Sorry.
You haven't been there 20 years.
No, not quite.
So, you know, and in Washington, it's the same thing. You know, it's a pat on the back. You're doing a great job. We really appreciate everything you do. And the next constituent comes in. You know, and it really it's going to take Washington to really start moving the scale on reimbursement. It's got to come from Medicare, and then others will follow suit. We're trying everything we can to move that needle, but it's very difficult. So that I just wanted to point that out, that the number of responses is different than the number of transports. So the other services, we're probably the last ambulance service in the state of Maine to seek a service fee or a subsidy from our communities. We've held out as long as we can. I mean, we've made it nearly 50 years, but it's just, we're not able to keep pace with our expenses, with the growing cost of technology, and I mean, our fuel costs have gone up 21% just in the last few years. But how are other agencies? So there's a chart here, basically City of Augusta, they charge an $18 per capita fee, and they also charge an uncollectible debt to the community. So any monies they don't collect, that $500 that I was talking about, would then be billed to the community in addition to the $18. Gardner does the same thing. Palermo, which used to be one of our towns, decided to go with Liberty Ambulance to the tune of $43 per capita. Jefferson was assessed by Waldoboro about $40. They were actually asked for $100,000 on the spot in the middle of the budget cycle, or Waldoboro was going to, you know, end up not being able to respond. And then Medcare over in Western Maine, the Rumford area, they're at $45 per capita. There are others around the state. I read some news articles where I read Caribou was $100 per capita, Holton was $74. You know, so the numbers are all over. When you see the lower volume services, the more rural services, those are the ones that have the higher subsidies, or the higher per capita rates. The difference with the services that I talked about, and the reason that their numbers are so high, is they're mostly 911 only. So their costs, their readiness costs are high because the trucks are sitting there waiting for a call, and they're not, the unit hour utilization, if you will, is low. So with our system, our ambulances do double duty. They're either on 911s or they're doing interfacility transfer work. So, you know, in a sense, they're, it's It's generating extra revenue. The interfacility work, the revenue that we generate there helps offset the cost of readiness overall. And quite frankly, the interfacility transport business, it used to be that they would call and schedule and say, we need to move, Mrs. Jones to Portland tomorrow morning. We'd like to do it at 9 o'clock. Now it's become, because of the shortage of beds in the state, Portland will call to Maine General or Inland and say, we have a bed available now. And then we get the call, we need to go now. So the transfer work has almost become like 911 work, in that they need to move the patient now or they're going to lose that bed in Portland. And so Mrs. Jones, who needs to go for the cath, isn't going to get there if we can't move it. So anyways, that's kind of the situation we have. So other services are also charging a service fee. We cover about 500 square miles, as I mentioned, from Rome to Whitefield. And in the bottom, at the end of the day, it's just that the business model that we've used all these years isn't sustaining us. Based on just service fees only to the patient or patient billing just isn't supporting the cost of doing business and the cost of recruitment and retention. It's been a real bidding war for employees, and quite frankly, there aren't any EMS employees out there to even attract anymore. So, you end up trying to hire from other organizations, and people just aren't moving around much. So the question is, what have we done so far? We've seen this coming. We've gone through the pandemic, which has sort of exacerbated everything. We have worked with the state to develop a new operational plan for how we deploy the ambulances. The state calls it a response plan. Essentially, using emergency medical dispatch triage, we can determine the level of ambulance that needs to go to the call. So the calls are Alpha Bravo through Echo. Alpha Bravo are lower acuity basic life support calls. We can send a crew with two basic EMTs or an advanced EMT and a basic to that call, and our data has shown that the emergency medical dispatch is accurate in that when they get there, they find a patient that's appropriate for their level of care. We always have a paramedic available. They're in a fly car, so an SUV, that they can respond if the crew were to get there and say, oh, geez, this isn't what we were told. We have a paramedic available. As the acuity of the call gets more serious, the paramedic is automatically dispatched with that ambulance. So there's no delay in paramedic care. And then we also have paramedic ambulances additionally. So we've been able to maximize efficiency within our staff. It's given the people who are EMTs and advanced EMTs sort of a newfound appreciation for their work, because now they can do what they went to school for. Because, in the past, if Bill and I are on a call together and I'm a paramedic and Bill's a basic, he's really my helper. Right? He's not really getting a chance to do any kind of patient assessment, patient care. Now with this model, these people are getting more experience, they're growing faster, they're getting some satisfaction from the job, and it's more efficient economically. We've right-sized our ambulance fleet to match our call volume. So pre-pandemic, we were running 12 ambulances during the day. We're at 7 now because of the change in call volume. The loss of Waterville and Winslow has impacted not only our finances, but the call volume that we respond to. We don't need as many trucks anymore. And then we work closely with the hospitals to manage their discharges. So what our board, looking at different models, they basically arrived at the $15 per capita fee, and using that model of a per capita fee. There are some other ones out there that are very complicated, and we just felt where this is our first time into having to ask for a service fee or charge a service fee, that this seemed to be the most straightforward and most common model used. So, that's $97,000 to the town of Fairfield, and I know that's a big number, and I know it's sticker shock. It has been for every community that we've been to. I wished it wasn't so. This is, like I said, not the spot that I wanted to be in after all these years. But the reality is reimbursement isn't paying the bills anymore, and we need to ask for this. I'm not sure if yours was up. A little bit embarrassed I didn't update this one. So essentially, our fiscal year is a calendar year. I know yours is different. All towns seem to have a little bit of a different fiscal year. Yeah. So the contract that we would offer is still at the attorney's, unfortunately, and I hope to have that soon. It addresses a number of questions and things that have come up over the last couple of months. And so that's essentially where it's at. You know, the other things that we've done, we've cut our budget lines as much as we can. We've froze leadership salaries so that, you know, we didn't take an increase. The field staff did get an increase to stay competitive. And quite honestly, about a month ago, Northern Light Bangor bumped all their entry levels $5 an hour. And that's, you know, outside of our capacity to keep up with that kind of thing without, you know, certainly in the situation we're in now. You know, the regional approach we think it works. It has worked for 50 plus years, or not 50 plus years, but 50 years. We hope that the 14 towns stay together because it helps defray the cost. You know, when you look at the operation, I mean, one paramedic ambulance, the Blue Ribbon Commission that was just wrapped up, that was studying EMS, they identified that one paramedic ambulance, 24/7, 365 days a year, with benefits and everything, fully loaded costs, was $780,000 per year for one truck. You know, and so that's the reality of communities when they start thinking about, do I go on my own? Do I go out and do this by myself? That you have to look at, you know, what are the costs and weigh what the reimbursement is. In a regional approach, using a system like Delta's, we can spread that cost out. Everybody has access to a fleet of ambulances, well-trained staff, you know, knowing that they have compliance and billing issues are all squared away, and not having to do that on their own, not having to do recruitment intention, quality assurance and things like that. So you know, we think that's the best. You know, going forward, we would still offer, you know, if Fairfield does contract with us, we offer continuing education. Over the years, I mean, it's been hit or miss with Fairfield. I know you've had staff that have done it for yourselves, but we replenish soft goods supplies and O2, and we would continue to do that under contract. We would also offer sort of, you know, a value-added services that we would help, and one of the goals would be to bring all of, you know, the first responder agencies sort of in that system together under a QI system. That then you could really, from the, you know, from the first responders perspective and all the way through to the ER, and tie all that quality together and really make it a robust system. Our medical director has offered to be the medical director for services that need to be in addition to ours. So, I know, Dwayne, you're permitted to paramedic. So, because even as a non-transporting service, they're required to have a medical director. That's something that we could offer, and again, bring people all under one roof and much closer working relationship. Although we have a very good working relationship now with Chief Bickford's staff. Well, they do half an hour.
Was more than I wanted, but you're okay.
You've already heard it.
You're good.
Questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
Do you have contracts, so I'm assuming you're going to have these contracts with the municipalities. You must have contracts with the hospitals, and their rates also have increased
We
because of all of
are
this?
meeting with the hospitals this month.
Okay, so you don't have a...
Yes, we have contracts with the hospitals. Currently, do they include fees? No. That's what we're meeting.
So that you have service contracts with them, but not a fee for service
Right.
contracts? Okay. Good to know. That was my only question. Thank you.
Okay.
And it's a dumb question, but I'll ask it anyway.
No dumb
And
questions.
so I assume the rates are all the same amongst all the towns, regardless of size, so it's just per capita.
Yes, it is.
And somewhere along the line, I'm not sure what we get to do, but I would think since we are looking at funds from the town, do we get to see a rough budget? So to anybody who tries to apply to us, looking for money as we go through our town budget, we get to take a look at their rough expenses. So I assume that would happen.
We can make that happen, yeah.
And just one more thing, if you could please answer, because it didn't come up. So for folks watching us at home, or who will watch us later at this meeting, what happens if, with Delta Ambulance's services to the town of Fairfield, if we do not enter into a contract with you?
We would follow the state rule of a 30-day notice, and we would no longer be your primary responding ambulance.
Thank you. Just needed that to be out there.
Yeah, I think every town we've been to has asked the same question. And you know, our board discussed that, and they felt that, you know, we couldn't continue to serve a town at the same level as a town that was, you know, contracted with us. It wasn't fair. So.
Any other questions?
If not, in the front of each of those packets is my business card. Feel free to call me, send me an email, whichever, if you have a question. Happy to talk with you.
I just have one question.
Sure.
You said this was effective. I'm looking at the timeline, January of this year.
Yeah, well, for our calendar year. I mean,
Okay.
that's our fiscal year, it's a
Okay.
January calendar year.
So has this started, like, charging residents of Fairfield already, or the?
No.
Or town?
No.
Okay.
I mean, we're continuing to serve your town just like we have. And we would with all of the towns until whenever your calendar year starts, that's when we would, you know, from that point on, I guess we'll have to see which way it goes from that point. Does that help?
Yes.
Okay.
And that is what, Michelle, March?
No, July 1 is when our
July.
fiscal year starts. So this $97,000 would be something that you would need to include in your operating budget for this next fiscal year that you're about to discuss.
Yeah.
23.
So there'll be plenty of future conversations regarding this. The chief and I have actually met with Delta. We've talked on several occasions. There are a lot of folks working on this. We're looking for what are all of our options. So we do have some more information that we're just not sharing with you this evening, but there are things that we have been working on. So you'll know what your options are as we go forward, because it's no offense to Delta whatsoever in their services, but it is simply just knowing just exactly what everything is for a possibility for our taxpayer dollars. So those are the kind of things that we're looking at.
And you don't have to answer this question if you don't want. Okay? Because
That already makes me nervous.
You've been around for a long time,
Yes.
since '72.
Delta, yes.
How many towns can you lose, and what's your survival rate? From a
losing-
business perspective?
Yeah, losing Fairfield, and if we lost Fairfield, I'm assuming we'd lose Benton, would be a financial blow to the company. We would end up cutting.
So would you be willing to come back to the table and negotiate this price?
I can ask the board. At this point, they've not wanted to negotiate that price. I mean, it's one that we, you know, that from all of the towns, if all of the towns contract, it's about $660,000. That still leaves us short, which is why we're meeting with the hospitals. And so I don't think that, I can ask the question. That's
Yeah.
all I can.
I'm just curious, because
Yeah.
it,
It's a big number.
and I don't want to see you go into a death spiral here.
Yeah,
I'd like to see you survive. You've been around a long time.
yeah. I mean, we've used our reserves to supplement us. I mean, we did get PPP loans over the course of the pandemic, which fortunately they were available, because call volume didn't exist over the course of the pandemic, and it really hasn't rebounded yet. But we've had to use our reserves to supplement our operations at this point.
Right, but pretty much all business has, so that's,
Yeah.
that you're right on normal ground right there. You
I don't like
really
that
are.
normal ground.
I know, but.
Nobody does.
Right, everybody has a tendency to panic here. But
Yeah.
Now, if I understand this correctly, it's mostly the Medicare reimbursement is what you're trying to make up the difference? The
All-
same as the hospitals
It's
have
so-
trouble with that?
It's across the board. It's not just Medicare. It's Medicare, main care, the third-party insurances. They all fall short of what the actual
Right.
costs are. That Blue Ribbon Commission, they identified, they gave a couple of different scenarios, but they basically identified that the gap between cost and reimbursement is about $380 per call. We're a little better than that, our gap, because of our volume and our efficiency in billing, but there's still a gap.
All right, thank you, Tim.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Another question.
Sure.
You mentioned on your budget, you have operational budget and an educational budget. Or is it one
It's all
budget?
one budget.
One budget? You still contracted through KV, or is it educational just through Delta and the hospital?
No, the education, the way the education department works, we do keep any revenue that department generates, is separated from the ambulance revenue. But we bill, we charge a student to take an EMT class. We would, right now, we're teaching an EMT class at Colby College that we have a contract to teach. So there are fees generated with that, and that's a new business, so with a new business, it takes time to grow it, to make it self-sufficient, but it is growing, but we do charge fees. We don't have any contracts per se for routine, ongoing classes. Was that it? Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
That looks like it for questions. Thank you very much, Tim.
Very good.
I'm
Thank
sure
you.
we'll be
Appreciate your
communicating.
time.
Yeah.
Thank you. And if you can email me that change,
I will.
that would be perfect.
Glad you reminded me.
That way we'll have a set for the minutes.
I emailed Bill already.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
So
Drive
move on to the first order of business at this point. Public announcements. Details may be found at www.fairfieldme.com. Number one, for the 2020-2021 tax foreclosed property acquired by the town on January 24th, 2023, 30-day buyback period, all outstanding debts shall be paid by Monday, February 28th, 2023 at 4:30 p.m. Number two, third quarter property taxes are due February 8th, 2023, and may be processed in person, online, over the phone, mailed, or via the drop box located on 19 Lawrence Avenue. Number three, dog licenses expire December 31st. To avoid the state mandatory $25 late fee, registrations must occur by January 31st. Proof of rabies vaccination is required at the time of registration. And number four, the Economic and Community Development Committee will be hosting an open house regarding development of the Mill Island waterfront plan on January 31st, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. at the Community Center. Jim, snow date will be the 1st of February 2023. The second order of business, public hearings, and I have none at this point. The third order of business, public comments, limit of 3 minutes. Members of the public may speak to the council or request opportunity to speak on a specific item that is on the agenda, or may email comments for council to info@fairfieldme.com by 4 p.m. the day of the meeting. Submitted content may be read aloud at this time. Do we have anything submitted, anything on Zoom world?
Nothing,
All right.
and there's nobody out in Zoom. Not anymore.
So moving on to the fourth order of business, reports from the staff and committees, the town manager report.
All right, so on January 13th, the Chamber and the Growth Council Board of Director members were treated to a private tour of the Paul J. Schimpf Art Center in Waterville. The town's Facebook page does have information regarding the Youth Arts Access Fund and how it supports free admission to youth ages 18 and under to their full range of programs offered through Waterville Creates. So that's not just they have arts programs, after-school programs, during vacation programs, could be access to events that are happening at the Opera House, all of those things, and you do not have to be a Waterville resident to have access to those funds. So if you have any questions, you have someone under the age of 18, 18 or younger, you want to go to an event, contact the box office. They'll be more than happy to help you with that. The 17th, I attended the KVCOG Board of Directors meeting. KVCOG is currently working on assisting the Economic Community Development Committee with map creation for the Mill Island planning process, so that's going well. The 19th, attended First Parks Executive Board meeting. The 20th, the town office did have an hour delay. That was during last Friday's storm. This past Monday, we were closed to all non-emergency departments due to the weather, and look for the fact of there being a possibility of either some sort of delay or closure for tomorrow. Yesterday, the union negotiating team did meet with the police union team regarding their contract renewal. You'll see we have an executive session at the end of tonight's meeting that was added to discuss that. Also yesterday, I attended the ribbon cutting at Octagon Cleaning and Restoration, which they're located at 272 Skowhegan Road, new business for us. They do a wide variety of cleaning, asbestos removal, that kind of stuff, so it was great to meet and talk with them. And that is it for me.
Okay. Thank you, Michelle. Committee reports?
For the Economic and Community Development Committee, we are meeting Tuesday, February 7th at 3:30 here in this room, and it's open to the public.
Do you have anything more to say about the open house?
The open house, as you read earlier, is going to be January 31st and 6:30 in the gym. And we'll have the gym set up in stations, so you can visit one zone of the island at a time to offer suggestions for what you would like to see on that portion of the island. It should take about an hour. We're hoping we have a good turnout.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. It's a great chance for some public, turnout and then public opinion.
Right, and especially if you didn't get a chance to do the survey, this is your opportunity to come
Definitely.
and offer suggestions.
Thank you. Yep. The fifth order of business, consent agenda. These items are considered routine or standard business and therefore will be enacted by one motion. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests prior to consideration of this portion of the agenda, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered next on the agenda. So they are item 2304, order that the Fairfield Town Council hereby waives the reading of and accepts the minutes for meeting number 2023-01 held on January 11th, 2023. Item 2305, order the town council hereby approves treasurer's warrant number 87, general fund, in the amount of $131,104.02, not limited but including Morton Salt, the MMA, and motor vehicles.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Nice. The sixth order of business, to take action on the following items of business as read by the council chair. Item 2306, order that the town council hereby adopts amendments to the town council administrative policy.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor? Discussion? Yes, ask for discussion first. I'm moving right along, so the snow, I probably apologize. Any discussion?
Michelle, do you want to mention that time
Yes,
suggestion?
on page 5, the copy that was given to you in your packet, there's a time change, the bottom, annual town meeting. We had discussed this in advance. The annual town meeting, as this policy was set for 7. Last year, we had discussed it. It got missed when we did your review last week. We've changed that to 6:30.
Okay.
Because it starts the same time your regular council meeting starts.
Right.
There was some confusion about that last year at town meeting, so that's it. There were some fixes in here that we had discussed that were not in your last documents, kind of one of the reasons. This was not exactly as you discussed at your last meeting. You had this. Was it just the time change?
It was a time change, and then when the final version is done, all the sections that are edited will say that when it was updated, as well as the date at the
Yeah.
top of the document.
But there
And
wasn't any other changes from your
No,
last
nothing
meeting?
substantive.
that-
This is all
from the-
housekeeping.
From the markup version that you have?
Page numbers. With the red line version, I can't complete everything without your vote.
Any other discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor? Aye. Item 2307, order the town council hereby adopts town council goals and standards for 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Hearing a motion and a second, any discussion?
Just the pieces that you had discussed at your last meeting were incorporated. Some simple things such as, we had discussed social media, the website, those were put into various different lines, that kind of stuff. Your things that were done in the goals was incorporated, as well as a new, your version last 2 weeks ago did not have the updated grants amounts for the departments.
Yep.
That those are now in here.
Very good.
And one of the things that we've already discussed this, and we've put a reminder in for actually October of next year. This document is getting rather lengthy with our progress. It's spilling into a lot of back years. So it's really great for some history for, especially when we have new counselors, but it does start to get a little confusing as to what you've actually done in the last year. So we're going to kind of revamp this progress section for next year. So it really just focuses on the progress throughout those categories for the year. But know that the document, this document here that you're approving tonight will also live in perpetuity, so we'll be able to provide that to new members and that kind of stuff. But it's getting a bit long and wordy, so we're going to kind of clean that up, so. But that's next year.
Thank you. You can find this online, I assume, and the town website, maybe someplace? Just trying to look if people want to see what has
Do we have it
been.
online?
Once it's adopted, and it depends on the workload.
Yep,
It will get
sure.
posted.
Yeah, it will get there eventually.
It's not emergent, but it's something that should, it'd be nice to
It
have
does live on the
access
council,
to.
it does live on the council page.
Awesome, thank you
Yep.
very much. So any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Item 2308, order the town council hereby select recipient of the annual town report dedication.
So move.
Second.
Hearing a motion and a second, any discussion? Counselor Thibodeau.
Well, I had mentioned the apple farm the last time we met, and I know that we've also got two other options for the dedication for the town report. I would just like to advocate for the fact that the apple farm has been in existence with the Meyerhands for 50 years, and I think it is commendable and should be recognized.
I understand, I've worked closely with the Akville Farm on many things and stuff, but it's a business, and I would rather see the dedication go to an individual person that has worked within the town instead of naming businesses. for
Right,
that.
and I
That's just my opinion.
wholeheartedly agree with that. It's a great business, and they're wonderful people, and, I mean, I'm so glad they've been able to stay in business for so long. There's quite a few long-term businesses in Fairfield.
Yep.
I don't think it's a good use of taxpayer money to, in essence, run a marketing campaign for a business. So I would have to agree with you, John. And not that I have anything against business by any means, but it has its place.
Okay?
So hearing that, do we have some other nominations?
Well, we've got Al
I
Hodgson.
agree 100% with Al.
Yeah.
He's dedicated a lot of time, to a lot of
Yeah,
different
he
organizations.
was great. I worked with him for a lot.
I
too,
believe he
during
was
this
still
period of
on
time.
the Kennebec Water District Board
Yeah.
when he passed.
Yes. And he's done a lot of work without getting paid, too. He did a lot of work for us without sending us a bill.
I think that's a great idea, personally. But I personally knew Al. I thought he was a wonderful man, so, I mean,
Yeah, I think I can definitely hear Stephanie's, Councilor Thibodeau's, thoughts. I do think with the passing of Al, I think that's worthwhile to put in the dedication.
I'll make a motion, we accept Al Hodgson for...
You already have a motion. John
It just needs to be
Okay, I'm
amended.
sorry.
John didn't make a motion.
I didn't make a motion.
Oh, I thought you did. I
No,
thought I heard
Peter-
you
I
say-
just talked.
There's no,
No.
we just discussed, it was just kind
That
of...
was just discussion.
So you would need to, but you do have a motion and a second, so you would need an amendment to your existing motion, because it was just
Right.
out there. That was motioned by Peter and seconded by Stephanie.
So you have to make an amendment
Amendment.
to your motion.
To whomever we choose.
Correct.
Right.
Back to the apple farm, I've tried to think of other businesses other than the apple farm that's been in existence, and I can only think of one, and that was with Beatty's. And I'm not really sure how many years Beatty's has been in existence.
Nope. Gary's been around a while.
But I do
Gary and Cindy have been
understand.
there a long time, yeah.
I do understand, what has been done since 2004 and earlier. It's always been a person, but I always think that sometimes we need to think outside the box and recognize other things. But I understand the business thing too, Larry.
Right. And-
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is the time to mention this. I've got some other ideas with the other. I don't know if we can combine the two now. We should talk about it, or we should talk about one at a time.
They're two separate items, so
Right.
probably
Two separate items, yep.
keep
But
moving.
you're talking about the Spirit of America?
Yeah, that's,
We'll get to that.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So would you like to move the amended motion?
yes. I'll make a motion to amend the motion to Albert Hodgson.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? So I'd like to move that. All those in favor? Thank you. Item 2310, order the town council hereby schedules a special, jumped over across it. 2309, order the town council hereby nominate recipient of the annual Spirit of America Award.
So moved.
Second.
Hearing a motion and a second, open for discussion.
Okay. I'm not sure, it seems redundant to me, both awards. I was wondering if the town of Fairfield does an employee recognition, like an employee of the year.
No, we do not do that.
No.
So a little bit of history on the Spirit of America Award. This is not facilitated by the town. This is actually a national organization, and the awards are handled at the county level.
Yes.
It is.
It is.
Yes.
Okay, so
That's
what
what I
happens
didn't
is...
understand. What's the
Yeah,
difference
so it's handled at the county level, but it's a national organization. We put forth, every municipality has the opportunity to put people forth. So we'll put them forth as being the recipient for our town, and at the county level, they have an event in which they recognize every town's awardee. Okay, and we mentioned that at a town meeting. It does go in our town report, but it's a program that's not even actually handled by us. It's a much larger national organization. Okay.
All right,
Right.
that makes sense to me.
But no, we do not
Because it
do
seemed-
an Employee of the Year award. I don't know as if the town ever has, but we certainly don't do them, haven't done them since we've been.
No, I don't,
Is
So-
to my knowledge, we've never
Is
done
that
it.
something that, and obviously, it probably can't be done for this annual report, but is that something that could be considered in the future?
Certainly could look at a program like that, yeah. Absolutely.
Because it'll help for employee morale, retention, all the things that you want to do. And my thought is, lots of times you take a long-term employee that's right in the trenches every day, and they get so they don't even feel like they're noticed. And it could be like, each department manager could just make one recommendation to the council with a little bit of a backstory on why they think this person would be a good candidate, and then you could vote that way.
Yeah, it's certainly something we could look at.
So I think it's something we can look at. I guess my recommendation on that end would be to think about maybe spending some time with Michelle to write up a base protocol to do that. So it's standardized.
Yeah.
So is it one person from each department and who talks about it? So I think that would be good if you, I think it's a
Yeah,
good thing.
well-
And that'd be helpful to.
I
to help
also,
support
I
that.
also think that you need to bring in each department head and speak with them too,
Right.
because the department heads are going to have their own opinions, and we need to field to them first.
Exactly, that's why I was just kind of throwing it out there for future consideration.
You're all superstars, right?
I am, I don't know.
I second that.
You know, I just can't help it. And I'll use like the people working in the town office. I mean, some of them work there a long time,
Right.
and they deal with the public every single day, which is very, very tough. And they do it with a smile on their face.
Yeah. It isn't, so the town of Fairfield doesn't really do much of, well, we don't do anything for employee staff recognition. We don't even provide funding for the holiday party or any of that. We do, oh, no, correction. When it's your birthday, you get a $10 gift certificate to Sonny's. But we don't do anything.
So I would think about maybe if we can discuss this in
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
other business.
I agree.
So let's move on to the Spirit of America.
I'll politic for, I know I made motion last council meeting for the Fairfield PD, but I want politic for Victor Grange. They've been around for close to almost 150 years. And they go from agriculture, but the senior program, they've done so much for the seniors, trying to keep it as a group or entity within the Fairfield Center. And they host other events, meetings, and things like that. That's why I want politic for the Spirit Medical Award for Victor Grange.
Any historical thoughts and anything else?
Well, again, that's another one that's more, personally, I rather prefer a individual person than a unit. I know we've got, I think over the last 10, 11, 12 years, we have out of that about 3 that we've put in there that were units like the Victor Grange, but I'd still personally rather see an individual.
I did want to draw to your attention.
I agree.
Nancy Marcoux was mentioned at your last meeting, and if you noticed in 2012, we did do the Fairfield Interfaith Food Pantry. So, however, that was the food pantry, right? It wasn't an individual, so that was the other. But I just wanted to draw that correlation for you in case you'd missed that. So,
Can somebody give me a little bit of information on her?
Nancy Marcoux is the person that typically we contact if we have a need of any assistance through the food pantry. They're there every day, when it's time to unload the trucks and put the Good Shepherd food away. For general assistance, we don't typically have a budget for a food allowance, even though it's a category, because the food pantry makes itself available to the welfare director at any point in time we have anyone in town that needs food. No matter when it is, they'll come in and they'll open up and do all of that. So she does a lot of coordinating. She is our point of contact typically with most things that involve the pantry.
And Nancy, I believe, has been involved
I think
right
since
from
its
the get-go.
inception.
Yeah, for a lot of
And
years.
we're talking maybe 30 years.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Christine?
So I would just also bring to your attention that the food pantry is also recipient of the dedication in 2010. So Nancy and her works have been recognized already in dedication and Spirit of America Award. And I would just like to say, just within the
Okay.
past 7 days, she's opened the pantry twice for my clients. But that recognition has been part of what those recognitions were. They're amazing. The food pantry is amazing. Nancy is a great director. We're very lucky, so lucky to have.
So this enables you to take not only an organization that you have recognized for its dedication to the community, obviously, but you can recognize that one shining star out of the group that you see, is where we saw that. So you could go one of either way.
Yeah, and she does this for nothing. She does not get paid for it.
Correct.
It's all volunteer.
And certainly, just because we're here and if folks are watching us at home, if you know of people in our community that are great volunteers, they're always usually unsung heroes. We're always looking for additional people to add to this list.
Yep,
And
definitely.
simply contact us or one of the counselors and let them know, because we keep a running tab of this going forward for the next year, so.
Thanks for saying that, Michelle. Any other nominations? Discussion? Does anyone want to move a name?
We can bring this back to you again.
Do we have a deadline, just so?
You really should make sure you do it by your next meeting.
I'll make a motion that we nominate Nancy Marcoux.
I'll second it.
Hearing a motion and a second, I think we can move that question. All those in favor? All those against? So Nancy Marcoux.
And opposed?
And abstain. Okay.
2310, order the town council hereby schedules a special meeting of the Fairfield Town Council to be held in council chambers for the purposes of reviewing and discussing the draft fiscal year 2023-2024 budget with department heads on Saturday, January 28th, 2023 at 8 a.m.
So move.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Is that going to be a problem? Donuts and coffee, it's usually a good day, so.
And we generally go to lunch, too.
Yeah, sounds good.
Never give you lunch. We're not here that long.
So, any more discussion? All those in favor? See you on Saturday morning. Item 2311, order the town council hereby schedules a special meeting of the Fairfield Town Council to be held in council chambers for the purpose of reviewing and discussing the draft of fiscal year 2023-2024 budget with the Budget Committee on Saturday, February 11th, 2023 at 8 a.m.
So moved.
Second.
Hearing a motion and a second, any discussion? All those in favor? Very good.
No choice on that one.
I'm going to a Celtics game on the 10th, so it'll be an early morning, but it'll be good. Seventh order of business, council workshop and other business. Discuss the scheduling, the presentation from First National Wealth Management. Can you speak to that,
I
Michelle?
can. So typically, we have them come in and discuss your investments with them. And usually it's around this time of year that we do it. COVID has kind of messed with that schedule over the last couple of years, but I do believe they were in person last year. And we usually look to whether or not we're going to do it in February, or we're going to do it in March, that sort of piece. So it's just a conversation that we have about getting them invited and bringing them in, and how quickly you want to do that. I can tell you that out dismal. It's not. It's getting better. It's getting better, but the last year was not very good. I have the numbers for the Crawford Fund. That letter's going to be going out soon. I've got to double check them, but it doesn't look like they're going to be eligible for much of anything this year. So
What, you want to just check with them and see what would be good with them, and then,
I think everybody's supposed to be here throughout February and March, correct? Nobody's planning on missing anything at this point?
possibly.
So I'll try to get them here for one of those meetings for you, so that way you can discuss those, and we'll go over our portfolio, where things are at. We have contacted them throughout the course of what the market has been doing, and their recommendations have continued to stay where you are, and which is what we've done, and then we have started to see the increase. So, but it was kind of ugly there for a while.
Right.
You got to remember, you only lose when you sell.
Right.
Yeah, they're pretty,
It's
they were,
just paper until then.
So a
we've been
lot of our.
conservative anyway.
And just for, so because Larry is new to us, and a reminder to folks, we are very limited as to what we can actually invest in. We're not allowed to take real high risk because of the fact that they are municipal funds. So
Right.
we don't go out and buy gold and silver and that kind of stuff. So
At least you wasn't in the crypto market.
yeah, no cryptocurrency here.
Thank you, Michelle.
You're welcome.
And then discuss other council business. So we'll move on to our councilors. Councilor Pachati.
Have nothing at this point, just, we've got a lot of work to do. We've got to, get the budget together and get everything moving forward and maintaining a decent, livable
Definitely.
neighborhood.
It'll be,
Challenging
yep.
year.
It'll be, yeah, it's always good to have a challenge. So look forward to it next couple months. Thanks. Councilor McDonald.
No, I think I covered about what I had on my mind.
Yeah, so-
I'm good.
I think what you talked about is great. I think that's something we should definitely look forward to, moving forward, like looking at the employee.
Right, I mean, I would think that the focus, should be do what we can for morale, employee retention, community involvement.
Yep.
Take every step that we can to get more people involved in this whole process.
Definitely.
Like this evening.
Right.
And then we'll just keep one foot in front of the other and keep going forward.
Definitely. Thank you. Councilor Lawrence.
Like I said before, it's going to be a challenging year, budget-wise and everything else. And I just want to say the residents be safe tonight and tomorrow because of the current weather situation going on. That's it.
Thank you. Councilor Thibodeau.
Well, February 9th, mark your calendars. I've been working with KV-COG, and they're spearheading the possibilities for municipalities to receive grants concerning climate change and the effects of climate change on us. So February 9th at 6:30 here in the gym is going to be an open discussion on how we can focus our efforts for climate change and possibly go out for some grants that would help us.
It's not in the gym, it's in this room.
Oh, thank you, Michelle.
You're welcome.
It's in here. And some ideas could be like our preparedness in case of bad weather. It could also mean working on culverts. It could mean road repair. It's what we decide or come up with for some ideas that we could incorporate into a grant proposal. What we are shooting for is $50,000 for the grant, but if we team up with another community, then we can go up to $125,000. And the other part is we could apply twice in 1 year. So it has a lot of potential to help us. So we just need people to come to the meeting and share with us your ideas, and we'll go from there.
Great. So that'll be Thursday, February 9th?
Yes, Thursday.
6:30.
Yes.
In here?
In here.
In here,
Not-
very good. Hopefully, I'm sure we'll maybe you'll remind us, I don't know if there's another chance in between. I don't know, there's somewhere to put that on the website?
Yes, so we did, KV-COG has sent us some promotional material. It's
Excellent.
being reviewed, and then we're going to get that up.
So it's 2 days after our meeting, the 7th.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So look on our website as well as our Facebook page, and you should see the
That should be
promo
coming
for
soon.
it. Yep.
Very good. For myself, I guess the only question I have is looking at a calendar for the future events, so we can all have that. I maybe mentioned that to Christine, so.
I had this beautiful calendar made for you this evening, and I found a typo.
Okay.
And I had to wait for you to vote on the meetings. I will distribute that electronically, and I can print it in color for all of you and put it in your boxes.
Thank you very much. That'll be helpful. So we'll make sure we're always here.
Yes.
And that, I think that is it for me, So that'll bring us on to the final thing, which is the next regular meeting of the Fairfield Town Council will be on Wednesday, February 8th, 2023, to be held as a hybrid meeting in the council chambers and via Zoom at 6:30 PM. At this point, we shall recess.
So I'll make a motion that we recess.
Second.
All those in favor?